All right, so welcome to the front porch. I'd like to welcome today's guest, one of our account executives, Jim Goodfriend. Hi, Jim.
Great to be here, Brian. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
All right, let's start with the basics. Who are you? Where are you from? And I didn't include this in the sheet, but what is your favorite sandwich?
Okay, great questions all the way around. My name is Jim Goodfriend. As you said, I'm an account executive here at Point of Rental. January, I think, will mark my fourth anniversary of being with the company. So, been a while now. As far as where I'm from, born in New Jersey, actually born in New York, raised in New Jersey, spent time in Atlanta and Dallas, and now I live in Denver. And favorite sandwich is a real doozy because, as you probably know, Jersey deli culture is number one deli culture in the land. Uh, Chicken parm's always a classic. Fresh Italian. I'm actually going to New Jersey next month, and I told my friend who's coming with me, I was like, "Yeah, we are hitting this. It's called Laporte's Italian Market. We're getting three sandwiches. The first one's called the Field Worker. It is a Taylor ham, egg, and cheese with potato, peppers, and onions on a long roll. And then there's just a classic fresh Italian with house-made mozzarella, which is going on. And then the third one is called the Davis, which is just a chicken parm with vodka sauce. And we're getting all three. So final answer, all three sandwiches are my favorite sandwich.
Welcome to the front porch with Brian Beaudry.
Wow, that was a much more robust answer than I was expecting. Whenever I just threw that in the conversation.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you're going to get a lot of details today. So
That's all right. I
we're
like
peeling
details.
back the
I
onion.
I want those robust answers. So that was great. All right, let's see if you have as good an answer for this first regular question that we do. When you're a kid, adults usually ask you, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Do you remember like your first answer to that question?
Sure do. Probably the same one that every little boy gave, which is, professional athlete of some kind, I
Okay.
think was the goal. Baseball was always big on the list. I have a twin sister. When me and Liz were in first grade, we were living in New York, and my dad took us out of school and sat us down at a Yankee game in the bleachers, and we learned some colorful language. And I thought baseball was the coolest thing in the world, and that's what I wanted to do forever. So that was my goal. And then it turns out that the skill level was never there. So
Yeah, I usually ask like, hey, at what point did you realize, nope, this isn't gonna happen?
pretty soon after that, like eighth grade, got thrown out trying to steal third base. The coach wasn't happy. I thought it was a great play, and I was like, "This isn't fun. I'm out of here."
Okay, I think my dreams kind of died around that middle school era as well.
Yeah.
Um, at what point, like, where do you go from there? What's kind of the next goal? Do you actually have a plan, or is it just kind of taking it as it comes?
Really the take it as it comes approach. Much to my parents' chagrin, they wanted to have plans in place. Starting high school, what are we doing? Can I curse on your podcast?
It just makes more work for me when I have to edit it.
Again, no, stop messing around, kind of
Yeah.
a thing. We need to be serious. These are grades that matter, things of that nature. So they were looking for a bit more of a plan. I eventually took a Eastern philosophy course and learned about kind of Taoism and the idea of the Tao, just kind of tapping into the guiding nature. That much more suits my approach to life. So yeah, it turns out that I'm a Eastern leaning.
Yeah, I was gonna say like there's an Eastern Western split back at home or something.
Nah, they're all Western. They're all Western. My mom wants to say that she was more Eastern in her early days. She'll tell you about going to all these Grateful Dead concerts and how connected to the general consciousness she was there. But
Yeah,
now she's a Western leaning lady.
nice. All right. Well, we did talk earlier, and we have something in common. Speaking about like not necessarily having a direction. You and I both dropped out of college as kids, and kind of didn't have a direction. It led me to the military. I figured I'd at least have like a few years to figure stuff out a little bit, and it was just buying me time, really. What did you end up doing?
Yes, so kind of got lucky in that my stepdad has three kids, and they all ended up in Israel at a certain point in time. Similar to me, also one of them had struggled a little bit on the educational side of things, but they were part of an organization called Masa, which is like an overall kind of umbrella company that has a bunch of various Israel experiences in it, and so they were launching something new. It's called Eco Israel. Is basically living on an organic farm, practicing permaculture, which is like some sustainable agriculture living practices, and so they kind of pitched that to me. I went to a meeting in New York in the city to kind of get some more information, came home, and I was like, I'm not doing this. This does not sound fun or like anything I'm interested in. And it turns out that they vetoed me on that one because when you're 19 and you don't have a lot of money and you expect your parents to pay for everything and let you live at home, they can tell you whether that's viable or not. And to their credit, they said you're getting on a plane, you're going over there. So I ended up in Israel for about 7 months. Lived on a farm. It was an interesting experience to say the least. There was literally no electricity. Everything came from solar panels. We did like all of our own water catchment sort of things. There was like various. I think there was like 4 different pieces of the farm. Where it was like my program was on it. Then there was like a community garden for the town that we were kind of nearby. And then in Israel, where you have to do the army, you could like defer your service for a year. And so they had like some community service part of the farm where like all these people came in and kind of grew stuff there. And then they partnered with some restaurant that ended up shutting down. But at the time it was open and they were growing all like their fresh produce and stuff for them for this restaurant in Yaffo, which was apparently pretty cool. I went once. It was pretty cool. But my parents hated it because they served you vegetables in dirt. And they thought that was
doesn't
weird.
sound delicious.
That was
it sounds like you're prepared for the impending apocalypse. So
I do have a bit of a green thumb, and should I have to start growing my own produce, I feel okay about it. Truthfully, it's the like there was a chicken coop, and that part chickens really freak me out. It's the beady eyes; they're not to be trusted, and they kind of nip at your ankles. So anything
I know Jim Harbaugh calls them a nervous bird, if you will.
Yes. Yeah. They are very nervous bird. And listen, Harbaugh is a former Michigan head coach. My dad's a Michigan alumni. We love Jim Harbaugh.
All right.
Big time. And we share his fear of birds, apparently, also.
All right. What else did you learn in like 8 months there? And why'd you come back, I guess? Was it like you got sent on like there was just a time period that you could go there? Or was there ever actually maybe you live here now?
So the program was always going to be a short period of time. It was actually 6 months, and I spent an extra month out there because I grew up going to a summer camp, and 2 of my friends ended up doing some internship in Tel Aviv and let me crash with them for a couple of weeks, which was awesome. The plan was actually to go back to Israel at a certain point. Like I was going to come home and kind of get my ducks in a row and go back over there, just figuring out like what that path was, because typically it's either like some kind of educational path or you're joining the army, and I didn't really want to do either of those necessarily.
I was gonna say none of those were really vibing with you.
Yeah, somewhere in between was great. So no, I came home and then I had the idea of that I was going to try and start my own business where I was going to do like a landscaping, but less so landscaping, more like going and setting up some kind of like garden beds and such.
Take that knowledge that you gained, and
things like that, and so I came home and that was the plan. And I started working at like a garden center to learn a little bit more about that side. And so I was working like at the actual garden center for a bit. And then they put me on like a landscape crew and learned a little bit more about the landscaping side of things. And truthfully, it's fun. I mean, there's nothing wrong with getting up early and grinding it out, being done at 3:00. And one of my friends who also struggled educationally, we will say, he's now a dentist, so it all worked out. But he and I would do that, and then we go and get lunch and play darts and have fun, play a bunch of golf. So it wasn't that bad, but at a certain point, it kind of became obvious that the Israel side of things wasn't necessarily going to happen again. And so at that point, 2 things that I knew I kind of had to work on. First and foremost was just overall work ethic. So I did some random jobs that kind of just required little more than just showing up to kind of get in the habit of, that's the most important piece I've always been told, is showing up is half the battle. So I have to get good about showing up. So I worked like at a ski place and did lift operations, which was miserable and cold weather out there.
I was going to say it's something that sounds a little more fun than it probably is.
Yeah, I think it's more fun. So now I live in Denver, obviously, and I've come to learn that there's no humidity out here. So the snow is like very light, not moist. When it's like
Yeah.
freezing, it's not that bad because you don't have the moisture in the air. Where like Jersey is, it's wet. It's
Yeah.
a wet area. It's got the wetlands.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's kind of miserable. And at that point, then I decided to go back to school and was doing community college. And I figured, again, if I was going to do kind of the landscaping side of things, like let's study some kind of business or whatever, that didn't go too well. It turns out I didn't have a huge interest in business administration. So I ended up just doing like liberal arts, where it's all, general education, take whatever courses kind of strike your fancy and go from there.
Yeah, I was gonna do a business minor, and then I took like my first accounting class. Like, nah.
Yeah, yeah. And it kind of was like, so eventually I got my associates and I went to a 4-year school. And at that point, I had to officially declare it again. I chose business something and I took like 4 classes. And the next semester, I was like, I am done.
Yeah.
Not doing this.
Where's the applied stuff? Can I just go
Yeah,
work?
like psychology courses were always a lot of fun. The philosophy side of thing I did really well in. Truthfully, math was always a strong point. That was the only reason I ever got into college to begin with. Thank God for the SATs math section.
Yeah.
And a mom who was a finance person who really drilled that in. But yeah, at a certain point, it was like, this is not so interesting to me. And I was like 26 years old, and I'm sitting in a classroom with a bunch of 18-year-olds, and I was like, this is weird.
So, how do you get into sales from there?
Great question. So
There's no just. I don't think that there's a sales class in most colleges. So, where you build those connections, but
yeah, apparently not. Even though I found out, well, neither here nor there. So basically, I was living in New Jersey and I was working at a bar as like a bartender, bar back sort of a thing. It was a bit of an odd situation, not to get too in the details, but it was with a girl I was dating, but her sister didn't like me. The mom couldn't pick a side. It was a very awkward period of existence there. But I had a friend who had ended up moving to Atlanta. Basically, I grew up with this one guy who was originally from Alabama. He maintained a friendship with this guy from Alabama. That guy kind of got brought into our social circle. And after he finished college, he was working in Atlanta at some startup. One of my friends ended up moving down there, and the two of them were living together and working together with the third guy. The third guy ended up moving out, and it was like, hey, we got a spot if you want to come check something out. So I moved down to Atlanta. It was great. Like I was looking at places in New York. It was $1,500 for a closet in Jersey City. I went down to Atlanta. It was like $600. It was brand new, but whatever.
Yeah.
So we get down there, or I get down there, I should say. And the first night I arrived, this is just pure chance and serendipity. Funny how these things work out. But the first night I arrived was the fight between Floyd Mayweather and Conor McGregor. And so my friends had their entire sales organization over at the house as some kind of team building thing. And so the VP of sales ended up showing up, and me and him were, kind of schmoozing. He was asking me about my background. I was telling him that I worked in like restaurants and things of that nature. And that company did restaurant technology. And he kind of said, hey, I think, you'd be good for this role. We like people who have a background in it, so they can talk the talk a little bit more. Like we don't necessarily need any serious polished, professional. This is entry level work. Show up, make the calls, and see what happens. So I ended up interviewing and got the sales job, and that was kind of how I got started in the sales career path.
Yeah, you were just like, I can definitely deliver on not being professional and polished. All right.
Yeah, like easy enough. And again, I had gotten used to showing up. So they're like, yeah, just show up and dial, smile and dial, and you'll see what happens. And it ended up matching the personality a bit. I've talked to some people about being in sales and why I like it, and the answer I typically give them is it just allows me to kind of be me and get paid for it, where like I don't feel like I have to put on any kind of airs or do anything different in terms of interacting with people than I would whether I was selling to them or not. So that was the first kind of introduction into that, where it's just like, hey, just call people and see if you could figure out a connection with them real quick and go from there. So that's how I got into sales, and that's kind of been how I ended up bouncing around to all these different places also. So from Atlanta to Texas, and now out here.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously there you're in Atlanta. How do you end up in Texas? Were you already in Texas when you applied at Point of Rental, or did you find Point of Rental while you were in Georgia, or how did that work?
So I was in Atlanta, and my roommate slash the guy who I was working with, he was director of sales. His name's Chase. He actually worked at Point of Rental briefly.
Okay.
He abandoned ship like a dingus. Should never leave Point of Rental. It's the best. Um, anyway, Chase was working at this first company, and then he ended up coming to Dallas to work for another company that did basically a CRM for kind of pest control companies. And
Yeah.
so he was like, "Hey, if you want to come out here and try something new, I was never really sold on Atlanta. Atlanta was supposed to be like a 6-month period just to get me out of the Northeast for a little bit.
Yeah.
So I never, really got myself too ingrained in what was going on in the city or anything like that.
Yeah.
So he was like, hey, if you want to come out and check something else out, would be happy to have you out here. He was putting in place a new process at this other company that he got hired for. And I obviously had learned the process and had success with it from this previous company. So I said, sure. And I moved out to Dallas, was in McKinney originally, and that was actually in Dallas, like down by the Fitzhugh area, and eventually in the Village, which apparently everyone has lived in the Village at some point in time. My uncle, who lived in Dallas in the 80s, lived in the Village. So
Interesting.
family tradition, I guess. But I was living in Dallas, and then Chase ended up coming to Point of Rental from that other company. And he, again, said, hey, it's a great company. Think you should come check it out. And I did.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up here at Point of Rental. And then at that point, I'd done like a bunch of snowboarding trips, and I was like, hey, can I go live in Denver? And they said, sure. So that's kind of the full.
Yeah, over the most recent years, it's like, well, we do have a lot of remote employees. We brought aboard Record 360, which was fully remote, and then It's like, well, yeah, I think we can live in other places.
So yeah, it has worked out wonderfully, and I appreciate. Shout out Andy and Teddy and Preston and everyone else for empowering me to do this move.
Nice. So Denver kind of fits your vibe more than the other cities that you've been in, or is it a mix of the I can afford this and it also fits my vibe?
Yeah, kind of both. Definitely fits my vibe a lot. It's a little more low key over here.
Yep.
That's one thing I didn't really love about New York, where everyone was so like high strung. It was always like go 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 sort of a thing. And Dallas, I did enjoy Dallas. People always ask me like what my experiences was like, Yankee moving down south. And I loved it. Like I always had a lot of fun. People are great and everything like that. But Texas was never really something where it was like a long term, I'm going to be here kind of a situation.
Yeah.
And so after a few years of living there, it was like, let's try something else out. So cost of living's nice. Truthfully, it's the access to the mountains. I think I did like 7 trips the year before I moved out here. And so if you're paying for Airbnbs and airfare every time you want to go versus just being here, it's worth it.
All right. So you're back to skiing. You just don't have to, work at the ski slopes. You're just actually enjoying them.
Exactly.
Seems like a better way to experience it.
Yes, I highly recommend not working at ski resorts for anyone out there watching this thinking I should work at a ski resort. It's more fun to just go there and ride.
All right. So what did any of your background like? Did the farming teach you anything about sales, or was that just a bridge?
That was more of a bridge. I mean,
I'm trying to get a weird LinkedIn
parallel
answer from you, because like how LinkedIn, it's like some random thing happened to me that they actually want people to know about, and they're like, this is how this relates to sales or whatever.
I guess I was the seedling of sorts that needed to be watered and nurtured a little bit. But I mean, it wasn't like the most one-to-one comparison. Like, truthfully, it's just more about like getting up and doing the things I needed to do, right? Where like that's probably the thing I learned the most, where it's not necessarily a sales-specific skill, but like similar to either of them, right? If you want to eat, you got to show up ready to do what needs to be done. So, more on the work ethic side of things versus anything else. But I mean, there's always a lot to learn from farming. It's a great thing. It's a great thing to do. So,
right,
unfortunately, no good LinkedIn soundbite.
Well, how dare you? Off the page, do you have like a sales mantra or like a particular like belief that you subscribe to when you're approaching a sale?
Yeah, actually, great question. So I've read a bunch of different kind of methodology books and things of that nature. I would say that, and it actually did happen at Point of Rental, and we don't use him anymore, but we were doing Sandler for our kind of sales methodology and sales training sort of thing. And admittedly struggling with putting into action the things he was teaching us, right? Like in theory, all these things that Troy was saying, high level, they make a lot of sense. In a vacuum, they make a lot of sense. But when you get on a call with someone, it doesn't always flow that way. And I was having trouble trying to approach it the way that he was asking us to come about it versus like at the end of the day, right? Like, hey, you got to make a sale. So do what you need to do to make a sale. And I ended up having a one-on-one with him where he kind of just looked at me. He's just like, look, forget the selling side of things. How do you care about people perceiving you? Like if you were to ask your friends, what do they like about you? What would they say? And are those the things that you put forward as far as how you want them to perceive you? And it was an interesting kind of exercise to the first. It's like, I don't know what they think about me. We've just been friends for 20 years. Hopefully they like me kind of a thing. But when you really think about it, there's a couple of things that I think I bring to the table. And he was just like, how do you want to, like, can you bring that part of you forward into the sales side of thing as far as, just things like integrity, loyalty, straight shooting, right? Things of that nature. I think that has probably been the most helpful piece where, from the time that happened to that conversation and going forward, and I don't remember exactly when it was, but like my numbers have been substantially better. I felt a lot more confident on it. And even like every couple of weeks we do a sales team call recording session. So we did my call a little bit after that. And all the guys, Brian, or not Brian, whatever their names are, John and Mark, who have been here for 15 years. They were saying, they're like, this is really good. Like, this is a really cool approach sort of a thing. So I think that's been a very helpful piece. And then not to brown nose too hard, but just the general management that we have out here has also helped me and allowed me to kind of bring the best parts of me forward within the framework of whatever they were trying to build with Sandler and now whatever methodology that they're also creating. So again, shout out Andy and Teddy. Appreciate you guys.
All right. Well, it sounds good that we're, working on our skills while we're here and improving.
Yeah. You got to sharpen your blade, if you're not sharpening your axe, it's getting dull, as they say.
It's a much more aggressive version of things, but okay. So what exactly is your role now? I know obviously you work in sales, but what what are you targeting? What does your day look like normally?
Yes. So the current position is account executive, just on the SMB new logo side of things. I did work with Brad briefly on the strategic side, which was also a great learning experience, but I do feel like I fit better with the SMB, kind of a little bit quicker of the sales cycle. And so that's what I've been doing for like the last year plus now and liking it a lot. As far as the day to day, I mean, it's one of the cool things about sales where there's not like a necessarily typical day. It really depends on kind of what you have on your calendar. But,
I just didn't want you including like this interview or something. It's like, okay, you're not on podcasts all the time, probably.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to. People have always said I have a face and a voice for radio. So you could put the blocker over here. I mean, it's truthfully just got a lot of prep work, a lot of follow-up, a lot of seeing what's happening in pipeline management. So, what do we have here? What's realistic to close right now? What do I need to get them to get, full information to a decision at the end of the day? That's the other thing that they've really worked on is it's not necessarily working for a yes. It's like, how do we get a decision, even if that is a no? So just trying to get people to engage with me, shoot me straight, what information do they need? How do we kind of make a path forward towards that decision sort of things? As far as more kind of granular, a lot of discovery calls. Discovery calls are more on the introductory side as far as, hey, someone says yes, they want to check out point of rental. Why do you say yes? What are you guys doing today? What's not working? What's the vision for the future? What's the impact of some of the things that are missing, things like that. Some demo stuff. Today I had a call with a guy from Sage, so some referral things also. So, it's not too typical, but I guess my daily goal is business, winning business, closing deals, moving the pipeline forward. Finally.
Yeah. I was going to say, as you're talking about like pipeline and like documentation and all that kind of stuff, is that something that surprised you whenever you got into sales? Because I think when I think of sales, I'm thinking about, the relationship building and the talking with people, but it's like there is actually a lot of prep and a lot of other stuff that goes into it.
Yeah, definitely surprised me. Especially early on when you started learning the ropes, and it's like, wait, how much goes into this? And how long do I have to spend building campaigns? And how much research? And wait, what? I thought you just told me I had to call someone and say, check out software. Yeah, there's definitely a lot that goes into it. I will say one of the cool things that Point of Rental has done to kind of lighten that load a bit is put in some AI. So like when we do our call recordings, I don't have to worry too much about my own notes. Where as long as I'm hitting on the right questions, like this AI note taker will then take those notes and put it together for me and really help with like the demo plan side of things. So it's just made the overall kind of start to finish from first touch to final decision a lot smoother. And I know with bringing in like the SE team when they have to come in to do the demos, with them having the ability to look at like the AI side of things versus my notes has made it a lot smoother. Well, I take great notes.
I noticed that my notes tend to be something that might be relevant to me, but it's not going to work well for someone else.
Yes, and the things that perk my ears up on a call aren't always the same things that perk everyone else's ears. So it's definitely made it better and a smoother process. So pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're having fun over in the sales department and talking with people. Let's go ahead and get into a game. We'll call it Good Friend or Bad Friend. Sometimes it's a challenge to come up with a name for this game, but thank you for having like the world's easiest name for setting this up. If you agree with the statement or it's true, say Good Friend. If you disagree with it or if it's untrue, say Bad Friend, and then I'm going to need a reason for your answer.
Okay.
All right. Good Friend or Bad Friend, you've been known to cry at movies.
Good Friend, because I always cry at movies. Always. Especially like Disney animated ones. It's a guaranteed Waterworks tearjerker sort of a thing. And I think it's Good Friend. My reasoning, emotions are good, So yeah. Good Friend on that.
And, I mean, hey, a lot of those movies are really designed to make you feel things.
Yeah.
And like, yeah. All right, Good Friend or Bad Friend, you've cheated at a board or a card game?
I'll say Bad Friend, because cheating's never good. That's a real bad friend move. But I have done it, Me and my friends play a lot of Monopoly on Xbox, so it's become harder to cheat, but there's still ways. It usually involves collusion, texting on the back end, getting people to make certain deals and things like that. So yes, it's a bad friend move. You should have integrity and you should play the game the right way. But if you play to win, you got to cheat.
I think the spirit of Monopoly is to be a terrible person who is trying to cheat everyone. So I think it kind of works. You're literally trying to make your friends bankrupt and take all their money and put them out on the street. Yeah.
They can live with me, but I'm taking their money.
Good Friend or Bad Friend, you've told an outrageous lie to a child.
Oh, Good Friend for sure. I have a bunch of step siblings that all have kids, and boy, oh boy, is lying a lot easier than telling them the truth.
What do you have a specific good lie that you've got for kids?
Really situational. I think on. All right, so I'm a huge candy person. Mm-hmm. So when I bring candy around and they want the candy, obviously I don't want to give them my candy.
Yeah, it's like this is candy.
So I lie about why they can't have the candy, which is also in theory, true. They shouldn't be, but like we should all eat candy. But it's my candy. So there's things like that bedtime thing. They're like, why can't I stay up and watch so and so? And I don't know.
Yeah, sometimes it's just easier to get the questioning to stop.
Yeah,
you just need a good lie.
Like let's just shut her down, kid. Shut her down.
All right, Good Friend or Bad Friend, your favorite fast food fries are from McDonald's.
Oh, Good Friend. True. Factually true, yes. I grew up close to Route 17, which is a highway in New Jersey that no one should really know about. But there was always a McDonald's there that was open 24 hours. And so, you go out with your buds, debauchery for the evening, and then, before bedtime, it's time to get a little food in the system. Straight to McDonald's. They're the saltiest. While I do, in theory, like well-done fries better if I'm going to a fancy place, when it comes to fast food, it's just, salty, soggy goodness down the gullet. Moving on. Yeah. It's the best.
Good Friend or Bad Friend, you have an embarrassing nickname or a nickname that you hate.
We'll go okay friend on that one, I guess.
That's not an option.
I wouldn't say that. So my stepbrother, for some reason, he started calling me Jimbo, and then he started calling me Jimbo Billy Bob, and then he just started calling me Billy Bob, and I don't like it at all. Yeah. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't wear overalls. I know I did the farming thing, but
That's the kind of nickname that I
highbrow
like, though, because I like to take a nickname. It's like, all right, here's the standard one. All right, here's something that sort of relates to that, and it feels like it makes sense. All right, now let's transition to this thing that makes no sense and
totally out of the way.
no one
Yeah.
would understand.
So yeah, that one's not my favorite. I mean, I like in theory those nicknames, and
Yeah.
I feel like Goodfriend is a name that lends itself to good nicknames, but
Yeah.
no one's really done anything. My dad growing up at camp was always Goody. By the time I made it to camp, there was another guy, Goodman. He became Goody.
Mm.
So he snaked my dad's legacy nickname from me.
What a jerk.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right. Well, thank you for answering those questions. Let's take a little break, and then we'll get to your interesting character / non-work questions.
It takes something special to dive into the unknown, to face the unpredictable, and unlock the mysteries that await beyond. Something tough, reliable, to fuel your confidence where elements seem to conspire to blur your senses. An unwavering ally, relentlessly field tested by the pioneers who ventured there before. It was constantly perfected over time for those who push their limits always further and shine an ever new light on our world. The Point of Rental Koozie.
Okay. I've heard you do some Jersey accents, and obviously earlier in this conversation, you've mentioned that you are from New Jersey, and you had a Devil's hat on last time even. You mentioned that you went to summer camp, and I've heard on a lot of podcasts from people in the New York area like about summer camp. Is this just a Northeastern thing? Like, is it just a thing that everyone's supposed to do? How does summer camp work?
So I think it is a pretty Northeastern thing. Like my folks had me at camp early. I remember, Wagon Road or something it's called in the city. So I think it is fairly common. Now, the second thing is we've also talked about with me going to Israel is the whole Judaism side of things. Jewish summer camps are like a very big thing in particular.
Oh.
Like there's been very few Jewish people I've met where I've been like, oh, what camp do you go to? And they haven't had an answer of what summer camp they grew up going to. So I think it's a combination of, like New York Jews.
Okay.
Northeast, whatever. But actually the camp I went to for the most part was up in Toronto. And my dad grew up going to summer camp. He's from Michigan. He grew up going to that summer camp. And when it came time for me and my sister to go, while there was one, there was 3 of them technically closer than the Toronto one. He was like, this is where you're going. So ended up spending summers up in Muskoka. Some of the Toronto people may know where that is. It's like 2 hours north. Up in Cottage Country.
Regional reference?
Yeah. It's kind of by Algonquin. If you guys are into camping, Algonquin Provincial Park is awesome, and it's like right underneath there. That's where we always have to go do our like week-long camping trips as part of it. Anyway, yes, so summer camp's a big thing for sure in the Northeast, and also for my Hebrews and Shebrews out there.
Okay. So does that mean you have like a passport when you're a kid? Because he's forcing you to go over borders. That's a real aggressive. How come every time your family's trying to send you out of the country?
They know it's good for me, Brian. They know it's good for them. They know it's good for me. I got to get rid of this kid.
Yeah, that was my main question. Is like, is summer camp is it 100% getting the kids out of the house and just get away from
my
us?
parents worked growing up, so I think it was like, without school being in session, if you're gonna have to like,
we don't want you around the house all day
find daycare, nannies, or this or that. You may as well be sent to these other things. You get 3 square meals a day, 3 hots and a cot, as I've heard it.
Wait, were you getting sent to prison and stuff?
Something like that.
All right. Speaking of family, I hear you have some family news to share with the rest of your family who might not have heard yet.
Yes. Last Thursday, my
I was
sister.
going to say this isn't going out for another couple weeks too. So.
Okay, so today is 9/19. On last Thursday, September 11th, my sister, who is my twin, she's 2 minutes older, went to the hospital to begin her birthing process. Scheduled.
We don't need to get too in detail.
So anyway, it ended up going longer than it took. So it wasn't Thursday, it wasn't Friday, but last Saturday at 4 a.m. ish Eastern time, she gave birth, and now I have my first. I love all my nieces and nephews, but Lizzie's my one true blood sibling, so this is like the first like good friend child.
Yeah,
and we're fired up on it. And her name is Ryan Lily, and she is so cute. She's like the cutest kid I've ever seen, and I'm not just saying that because it's my family. I'd easily tell you if she was an ugly baby, but she looks good. She's so cute.
All right, good.
Anyway, congratulations to Lizzie and Danny on their firstborn child of their family, and congratulations to me for supporting them from afar.
That's the important part. Is just the uncle rarely thought about or considered in these situations, but really that's where all the congratulations.
Well, I thought it was weird. My cousin texted me and Lizzie in a group chat, but only acknowledged me and congratulated me for becoming an uncle.
That's how it should be done, honestly.
Yeah.
All right. Tell me about how you became BFFs with one of our UK pointers. What happened?
Yes. This is one of my favorite work stories ever. Because historically, moving around, like a lot of the friends that I've made, I have relied on work to meet people as you go to new cities and things like that. But then I came to, I was already living in Texas. I had my friend group. I didn't necessarily look at point of rental as having to be some kind of social arm. It was more of just like the professional side of things. But I was working with Brad, and we were talking to a company that seemed to be a good fit potentially for the searing side of things. And so we ended up messaging Daniel on a Friday, end of day for us, probably 10 o'clock at night over there in the UK. And to our surprise, he responded right away, answering our questions. We're like, dude, what are you doing up? Like, it's a Friday night. You should be out, having fun.
Yeah.
And he mentioned that he was playing a little bit of video games. And my first question, as soon as I saw video games, was FIFA, ? And he said, yes, bruv. And that was it. And so that was probably like 2 FIFAs ago. And now Daniel is one of my favorite people. Shout out Daniel Huggins. Huge fan. Everyone should hang out with Daniel when they go over to the UK. He's the best. But it's actually really funny where like he started playing FIFA with me and all of the guys who I've known since high school. And he is now in our group chats and talks to us on the regular. And we play video games on weekends, because it's hard with the time zone and work hours to make it work. So always on weekends, get after it and just have some fun and share some laughs and trade tales and beautiful friendship and all that stuff. And Daniel even sent my buddy Jashan some I don't know exactly what it is, some Jamaican tonic or something. Totally legal. But he actually shipped it to him, and it took 2 months to get here, and we're giving him so much crap about it. But he actually sent it. So Daniel's a real deal homie. Shout out Daniel Huggins.
I was going to say, it seems a little weird that it goes from Jamaica to the UK back to
somehow, he got it. It was a real weird shipping pattern, and he kept on telling us that he did it. And he's like, you're not going to believe what the shipping updates are, but I swear I sent it. And we're like, all right, bud. Yeah. We appreciate the bit, but we know you're lying.
Yeah.
Turns out he wasn't.
And then suddenly it shows up, and it's like, hey, where'd this come from? If only someone had let me know it was coming.
Yeah. My biggest gripe is that he didn't send it to me.
Yeah, seems a little rude, but maybe Jay Sean's the uncle in this situation.
He's a distributor, I guess. Once he gets in, he's starting a distribution company.
Yeah. All right. You're apparently a big concert guy. What type of shows are you going to when you're looking at a concert to attend?
Yeah, cheap ones that are around town. Denver's a really great music city where there's not a whole lot of competition for people going, from one coast to the other. There's not a whole lot of places to stop in the middle of this area. Yeah. So there is a lot that comes through town, and Denver's done a great job as far as keeping some of their older theaters up and running, where there's a street called Colfax, and there's, I think, 3 different venues within a mile radius of one another that are all, vary from 500 people to 2,000 people kind of venues. So I like to see what's coming into town that way. Put some concerts on the docket. Red Rocks obviously is nearby, and so anytime we can get to Red Rocks, For anyone good that's coming into town, would like to do that. Rainbow Kitten Surprise was in town at the beginning of September. That was a bucket lister and got to see them, which was fantastic. My mom was in town and she has never been to Red Rocks, and took her to go see the Beach Boys, or what's left of the Beach Boys, and they were great. So things like that. My personal musical taste is more on the rock side of things, psych rock, heavy rock. I bought my first metal ticket, so I'm really excited. There's apparently some big band out of here that made the best metal album of the year 2 years ago, and it's their first time back in town in I don't know. Should be really cool. So I got that. Got Paul McCartney on the docket. That one I'm very excited about. There's a lot. There's a lot of things. 30 different shows this year, so it's been cool. LCD Sound System, #1 concert of the summer for sure. Highly recommend if you get the chance to see them, go see them. Fantastic show.
All right. Yeah, I was hoping that you were going to go to like easy listening concerts, and then you're just a mosher and you're just starting a mosh.
I did get into my first mosh. I would like to be a mosher, but there's some. It just ended, unfortunately. But it's kind of like Denver's answer to Austin City Limits, where it's, a weekend, bring a bunch of things in. So they brought some band in called Fiddler, who I'd never heard of, but I guess they did like kind of 2000s surf punk rock California kind of thing. And they had a mosh going, and I got into it, which was great, but I was wearing Crocs. So if you're going to mosh, don't wear Crocs. Roll the ankle.
Prepare for
moshes. Prepare. Steel toe boots only.
Yeah. All right. What's something that people misunderstand about you?
I don't know.
Even though you are a straight shooter.
I usually do feel that. People don't misunderstand a lot about me only because I do pretty much present as a sort of a thing. The one thing that I've heard is that people think I'm a bit of we'll say abrasive. We'll say it could be a bit abrasive. I remember moving to Atlanta and people were like, whoa, you just shoot super straight and you don't care what anyone. And I was like, nah, I do care, but like all this bless your heart Southern hospitality things that people hide behind, I don't hide behind that. I'll just let you know.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it that, or is it you just had more of your accent back then and they hear the accent and they're like, rude, jerk?
Surprisingly, I've never had too thick of a Jersey accent. My buddy, who I was telling you about, who was from Alabama, his mom had me saying y'all from the time I was in 6th grade. So people always thought I was from the South as soon as they hear y'all up there. Yeah. But, every once in a while you got to give them forget about it, huh? Get the gabagool.
I was going to say, now you sound like, I don't know.
I've been watching The Sopranos, so
sounds like a questionable stereotypical version of like someone who's not actually from there doing.
Well, that's me doing my Tony Soprano impression. Yeah. Carmella. So anyway, I don't think people misperceive too much about me. But yeah, they do think I'm sometimes more of a dick than I actually am once they get to know underneath. So soft, so sweet.
All right. Do you have any questions for me? I'm not going anywhere further with that conversation. Do you have any questions for me? You get exactly one.
I get one question?
You can ask me one question.
Okay, what do you do in the military?
Initially, I was a supply admin in the Marine Corps. And then when I didn't want to get called back up to go to Iraq again, I switched to the Air Force and became a personnelist.
And so then did you do any reserve duty, or once the Air Force was done, were you done completely?
My Air Force stuff was in the reserves and the National Guard. So I had like 10 years overall.
Was that all in Texas? Because I know you said you just moved to Illinois. What's your
Hey, I said you get one question.
I know, but we're flowing now.
Yes, I lived all over the West Coast. I only moved to Texas for the job before the point of rental job, and then similar to you, like I saw pretty much everyone's kind of moved away. We're not really coming into the office all that much. I don't really need to be here. I never had wanted to move to Texas, so why? And so I found a place where I could get a much bigger house, a much more chill area for less money and less heat. Because I think last summer in Texas it was like 100 degrees every day for like 60 straight days. And it's like, this is not it.
Yeah. Substantially nicer.
Yeah. All right. Before we get into the 5 important questions, I need you to give me a top 5 list in a segment we'll call Gimme 5. Again, five figures. it seems like not everyone knows the rules of a good top five, and you have to start at number five. They have to be in an order. You can't just say in no particular order. That's not a top five list. So, do you have a top five list that you have prepared, sir?
Well, I've been working on my concert list because I'm a big Reddit guy. That's my number one time suck, is going on Reddit and just falling into black holes there. And they have been suggesting the concert subreddit, where people have just been posting their like lifetime concerts that they've gone to. And I thought that's cool because while this is a big part of life now, historically I have not gone to a lot of concerts. And I was like, I want to make sure I'm tracking those who I have seen and those who I've liked and things of that nature. So I do have a full spreadsheet that I put together of every concert that I've seen, save for a few that I've forgotten, since I moved to Colorado. So I could give you some kind of list on that front.
All right. It sounds like you've overly prepared for this.
Yes.
Accidentally. All right.
Yes.
Let's do a top five concert / bands to see.
Okay. And you said that the first one is the bottom of the list, or starting at five and working up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number five.
Excellent. All right. So this one I'm going to do because I went in with zero expectations. I doubt anyone knows it, but basically I saw something on Reddit where it's like, this is going on tonight, like go check it out sort of a thing. And I looked at a YouTube video and I was like, this is the coolest thing. So there's a band called Here Come the Mummies. They are apparently based out of Nashville, and they're all like touring artists with bigger names. Mm-hmm. And so I guess these guys put together this band, the Mummy Band, as their own kind of side project. Contractually, they're not allowed to show their faces or anything because they're part of bigger projects. So these guys just come in completely dressed up as mummies. They all have fake names, and they just absolutely rip for like 3 hours of like funk music. And it's so cool. And at one point, one of the mummies came out and played 2 saxophones at the same time. One man, 2 sax. And then some other guy came out with 2 more sax. You had 4 saxophones, 2 mummies. So cool. And again, that one was like, no expectations. It was a $20 concert ticket.
Wow.
Like, let's go see what this is about, kind of a thing. So that one,
is this number 5?
That's number 5. Just to get, because I do like to see some of these no-name acts over here. If you're going only to big names, you're missing out on a lot of great music. So I'm going to throw in one of these. Unfortunately, a lot of these are going to be big names from this point forward.
That's okay. Number 4.
So that was number. Yes. Number 4 was my second concert ever at Red Rocks, and it was Porch the Man, and they were backed by the Colorado Symphony, which is a really magical experience. So go see music with live orchestras backing them. It's a really wonderful, wonderful experience. Also come to Red Rocks. Red Rocks is fantastic. It's such a wonderful, place to take in music. Touring artists really love it, and they always give their best. So I would recommend that one. So awesome. We'll say that is number 4. Number 3, and all these are now going to be this year ones, unfortunately. But number 3 is going to be Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, who, I don't know, people kind of know him, people kind of don't. If you ever watch the show Peaky Blinders, his song Red Right Hand is the theme song of it. That's probably his most well-known one. But he's like a really weird dude who, like, I don't know, is just like kind of crazy. Haunting, beautiful, sad, uplifting. The guy just like grabs people by the face while he's on stage and screams at them nonstop, and people get there 5 hours early to be one of the people who get their face grabbed by Nick Cave. It's awesome. So I put that one at number 3. Number 2 was actually the day after Nick Cave, and I got 2 tickets to it. But Jack White, I've loved the White Stripes since I was a kid. That's probably like one of the first albums I ever got. Jack White is such a talented guitarist. Incredible. And he has the catalog for the White Stripes, for his own individual stuff, for the Dead Weather, and like one other band I think I'm blanking on.
Raconteurs or something like
that? Yes, thank you, Raconteurs, yes. So it's like, I mean, you're getting all these different groups, and man, that guy can just absolutely put on a show.
For sure.
So good.
But he's not even number 1. Who is your number 1?
So number 1, I did mention it, and it was LCD Sound System. I went with one of my friends. TV on the Radio was the opener. That's who I cared about going to see. I was like, I'm going to see TV on the Radio. And then LCD came on, and A, I didn't know they were from New York, which is always cool. And B, it was the most fun. I'm not the guy who stands perfectly still. You can't go to a concert and be that guy standing still, not rocking, but I'm certainly never the guy who's like busting moves heavy.
Yeah.
I felt like I took a Roomba class. My body was healed afterwards. Like it was just like, yeah, I don't know, magical, pure magic. So much so that me and my friend who I went to this concert with, like, immediately bought tickets to see them again. They're coming back to Aspen for New Year's. So immediately before we even got out of like Red Rocks parking lot, I bought tickets to go see them again. So that was my number one concert.
Awesome. Well, anyone out there who has concerts that seem to align with those experiences, reach out to Jim with some ideas for other concerts for him to go to, and maybe share your top 5 list.
Yeah, let's talk music. Let's get weird.
All right, let's do another thing. We'll call it first pitch. Pitch me on your rental business. If you had to start a rental business of your own in the next month or so, what would your niche be?
Okay, so this isn't my idea, but I heard someone talk about this where apparently fireworks are starting to go away a little bit. Like, I forget whatever is needed for fireworks to explode, whatever. But apparently it's a limited resource and it's better used in other places. And so
I thought it was just because of so many fires going on.
That also, I mean, a lot of wildfires out here.
Yep.
But so someone was saying that apparently there's a lot of money to be made in the drone business, where if you can like start programming your own kind of drone light shows and then rent them out, there's a lot to be said there. So I think if I was going to do anything, it would probably be something like that, where, invest in this stuff, do it for particular events, so people kind of design it a little bit, get it kind of, custom, whatever you need it to. I'll just give you the drones, you program what you want to see and pay me, sort of a thing. So I think that would be cool. I mean, maybe bike rentals. You can see I got one here and one there. I don't need 2 bikes.
You can't have 2.
I can rent that one out when I'm using that one. So that's maybe I'll just rent bikes out or something.
That's just participating in a thing that already exists. All right. I like your drone rental concept.
Yeah, that's not my idea. I don't remember who I stole it from. So if you're watching this and that was your idea, kudos to you.
They're unlikely to ever see this, so that's okay.
I'm sending it to everyone.
As far as anyone knows, it's your idea.
5 important questions. 5 important questions. 5 important questions.
All right. Let's do the 5 important questions now. Sorry, everything else has been pointless. Number 1, what would you say is your greatest success in life?
I don't know. Hard one. I mean, I guess this professionally, I've never experienced this kind of success before and this kind of longevity. Like I said, coming up on 4 years at this company and then 4 years at my previous one. So professionally, I'd say that I am much more the success than I ever thought I was going to be. Not that I thought I was destined for failure, but this is a lot. Life is a lot more fun than I ever imagined it to. So I'm going to say generally speaking, all encompassing, whatever has been this journey is just a overall success story.
Okay. So if you feel like you've found a place that you can be comfortable and like be you while still achieving in like traditional ways.
Yeah. Growing and achieving and thriving.
Awesome.
Damn near. Not fully thriving yet, but damn near.
You always got to leave a little room for growth anyway, so that's good. Number 2, what is your greatest fear?
Do we want like a real in-depth one, or do we want like...
I don't ask questions to have you lie to me. Have you been lying?
Okay, so I mean, realistically, failure, there's been too many people who have helped me where like if I was to fail and fall on my face, it would be a huge embarrassment to me and an absolute, spit in the face of those who have helped me get to this point, because it did take a lot of work and a lot of patience and so that's one of them. Now, not seriously, but seriously, exotic fish. Fish in general are weird.
Even more than birds?
Say again?
Even more than birds?
I don't eat fish. But I remember I used to deliver Chinese food or Japanese food, and they had like an exotic fish tank in the back with all these weird, wriggly, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I always just thought that if anyone really wanted to torture me, they would put me in there and I would freak out. Because generally, if I'm swimming in a lake and a fish bumps, no, all of it. I don't want to see a fish. I don't want to touch a fish. I don't want to go fishing. They're weird. They're alien. They don't breathe air. See the blobfish that lives down in the depths of the Marina Trench? Like, what are we talking about? What are these things?
Yeah, I'm with you most of the way. And it's like, I can see where it's like, look, as a human, we can't fly. We can't really be submerged in water 24/7. So it's like all these things are a little weird to us, and it makes sense.
Yeah, but the idea, I love being in water, But
Yeah.
then I see them, I'm like, that's an alien or something. That's not
I'm okay with it if I can see it, but yeah, when fish in like murky water, that's no.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
know
ever
what
want to
that
go noodling for catfish or anything where you can't
Yeah.
see when there's like grabbing your arm. No, thank you.
Yeah, that seems like a bad policy of just let me stick this arm. Let
Yeah,
me stick my arm
what's the
somewhere
worst that can happen?
Yeah. All right. If you could tell first day at point of rental, Jim, one piece of advice, what would you tell him?
Be patient.
That seems to be a pretty common theme amongst people in general. Is
Yeah. Well, you know, there's this
patient, they'll
idea
come.
that you get hired and it's not my first job and you're coming in and it's like you want to hit the ground running and you think you know all the things that you knew from it. And it's just like, you know what, take a step back, be patient, trust in the people that have hired you and that you've agreed to go work with. It's a mutual kind of partnership there. And yeah, point of rental, they did right by me.
Yeah. And as you're thinking of it, I'm thinking about it like, man, I never really considered about it when I was routinely looking for jobs, but it's one of those things like when they hired you, they want you to succeed. They're
Yeah.
like invested in helping you succeed there because, I mean, A, it's going to help them. B, they chose you, so they need to reinforce that they made good decisions, all that kind of stuff. All right. If you could change one thing about yourself, what would it be? This is like a genie situation where it's instantly changed.
If I could change one thing about me, well, I'm losing my hair a lot. So I'd
Okay.
love that to be changed. That'd be cool. Um,
You just need one. It's only one thing. That one's a,
Right.
a
Well,
pretty solid
you
one.
know, I'm trying to. I don't know if you want like a serious thing or not serious thing, but you know, being bald definitely would like to change that. Otherwise, yeah, could be more organized. Could be a better friend and call people more. You know, things like I don't know.
Then if you became a better friend, you'd have to change your last name to Better Friend.
Yeah. Well, I had a buddy in middle school, and he used to call me Jimmy Really Good Friend. And he said that if I worked hard enough, that he would upgrade me to Jimmy Best Friend. So,
I like it. All right. If you could change one thing about point of rental, what would it be? Again, genie snap change type.
Jeannie, I don't want to point fingers at anyone, so I don't say this in any kind of a derogatory or anything way. But I wish that people could be onboarded immediately.
Yeah.
You know, because like I sell people, and then all of a sudden there's like they're very excited, but then there's this whole onboarding process where then all of a sudden there's the work side of things. So if I could just be like, all right, you're a part of point of rental now, and then they were immediately onboarded, that'd be the best thing ever.
And
Yeah,
also just
shots
like
at anyone. Our implementation and onboarding team is awesome, and they're doing great. It's a very complicated product and a hard lift, and people aren't prepared for it all the time. But I feel like that would make it so you just boom, you're live. Let's go.
instant knowledge transfer would be really
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, sort of like an Avatar where they do like the tail mergings. If we
Yeah.
could do that for onboarding,
I like the idea of like trying to do that, but it's like, okay, we can't do this via virtual meeting. You're gonna have to fly me out just so that we can connect tails.
I'm gonna touch tails real quick.
All right, tell me a secret about point of rental, something that not enough people know about.
Man, I feel like I don't know a lot of secrets about point of rental, only because obviously it's an old company. Old, maybe not a long enduring company that
Yeah, there
is
you go.
set up for many more years of long enduring. But I feel like there's a lot of things that happened in like the early days. Like I talked to Mark and John and some of these other guys, and trade show stories and people partying and responsibly or maybe not, whatever. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know too many secrets about point of rental. I would love to know the dirt.
I was gonna say back when not everything was documentable quite as easily in life. Yeah, there was a lot more. Interesting stories
and also I
about
feel
that.
like when people were all in the office, like now with this whole remote side of things,
It does make it a little more challenging.
I don't know enough about what is happening to know about the dirt behind it.
That's fair. What's something that you believe that it feels like no one agrees with you on?
Okay, it's not anything too deep or anything, but I'm a huge soccer fan.
Mhm.
Huge soccer fan, and it is pulling teeth trying to get people to watch soccer. It's like it's so boring. It's all this other stuff. It's the greatest thing. It's on early in the morning. You can wake up on Saturday mornings at like 6 o'clock. You pop on soccer. You chill. You're not missing anything because there's all of 2 goals scored in the entire game. You got these cool people talking in cool accents that kind of puts you back to bed. Anyway, most people don't give it the full credit that it deserves, and I think it's probably the best sport that's out there right now. Football's fun only for fantasy purposes. Baseball's 163 games. Ain't nobody got time for that. Basketball, they're circumventing the salary cap. Kawhi Leonard is out of control. The balance of power. What are we talking about? And hockey's cruel. Hockey's great. I have nothing bad to say about hockey. Go Avs, go Devs, go Stars. But soccer number one. Go watch soccer.
I think worldwide that's a popular opinion, but yeah, in America, I can see that being something you're not surrounded with.
I hang out with a lot of football guys, and I'm trying to get them to respell it UTBOL. You know.
Yeah. All right. Well, sorry, we have to sentence you to death because believing that soccer is the greatest sport is now capital offense in America. What is your last meal? What's the last meal and why?
Oh, great question. A hard question to answer. Probably one of the sandwiches, potentially, that I mentioned at the beginning.
You might as well just get all three of them. It's the last meal.
Yeah. But I don't know if it exists anymore. My dad used to always take us into the city. Well, sorry. As someone who grew up in New Jersey, there was only one in the city. I've learned that when
I was going to say, we know what you mean when you say you're from Jersey.
So we're going to New York City, and it's a Spanish place. Blanking on the name of it. But I used to go, and my sister Alexa would come with her friend Lori. Lori's the best also. Shout out Lori. And me and her would split the meat platter, where you basically got like a skirt steak that was this big and like sausages and chorizo and this and that. And it was so good. And they kept like sangria flowing like crazy and potatoes and peppers. And anyway, so I think maybe that would be if I'm having if I'm like dying and I could go out. And, that would probably be it.
If I don't have to deal with the consequences of what I'm doing to my system.
That one, number one.
Well, you had me at meat plate on that one, so.
Yeah. I can't remember what it's called. I do think they shut down, but then maybe eventually opened up again. But it was so good. And surprisingly, so cheap for New York City dining.
Thanks.
Steak dining.
All right, well... Thank you, Jim, for chatting today, and thanks to everyone out there who's watching this on YouTube or listening wherever they're listening. It means a lot to me. Share the podcast with your friends, and we can all talk about Jim and our other guests behind their backs later. See you next month, and we'll keep the porch light burning for you.
Appreciate you, Brian. Good to be on the pod.